cells come, they can collect the blood sample, and then that way they can try to run them through the database, just like the Lieutenant Pareto was saying. Because sometimes through DNA, you'll be able to match these individuals to other crimes that they've committed. So be very mindful of that. I've had individuals, they say, well, I live next to a creek, and I'm tired of people jumping the fence onto my home because they jumped from the creek to their home. What can I do? And that's when I tell the individuals, be very mindful of your property line. Rose bushes would be something that might prevent somebody from jumping over. Be very mindful that you know your property line, just so you don't run into any kind of lawsuits or anything like that. Now moving on to the last one, which is locks. A lot of people, what goes on is they don't put a lock on their side gate. It's the worst thing you can do. A lot of people say, well, you know, I move the trash cans in and out through the side gate. I come in and out when I cut the grass with the lawnmower. Or even some people say I have a gardener and I need to leave the gate open for the gardener. If you know what time your gardener's coming, you know what day your gardener's coming, or whatever it might be, then close it up when they're not there, and then open it up when they're going to come. Just to cut off some of the variations of having it open. Front doors. One of the big things that we see with the front doors, especially with a lot of homes, it's not the actual. How do I say this? It's not the actual door that fails. It's the plate that holds the door. So a lot of people, what they'll have is they'll have a two-tiered system on the front door. So the deadbolt, and then they have a lock portion of it, and obviously they have a lock. So that never breaks usually. That rarely breaks. What breaks is the strike plate that goes up against the frame of the door. So what we always recommend to everyone is to get 2.5 to 3 inch long screws for the strike plate. And if you know how to use a screwdriver, or if you have a power drill, you can do it really quick. Go ahead and try to do that for every single door that you have. The reason for that is because that frame should have a stud. It should have a frame that's really sturdy. Usually they're 2 2x4s put together, or they have another way of reinforcing it. So when they try to kick the door, it's a lot harder to kick the door. Now if you want to get really fancy, they do sell these door frame reinforcers. They're a long strip of metal. As Lieutenant mentioned earlier, we can't specifically tell you to buy one company. We can't really do that. But if you go online and you put door frame reinforcer on the Google, you'll find a whole bunch of information. They range anywhere from $50 to $60 all the way up to $200. So it just kind of depends on your budget. Sometimes they sell these at your local home improvement store like Home Depot, Lowe's, or no more Orchard Supply. I was going to say Orchard Supply, but there's no more Orchard Supply. So yeah, at your local Lowe's or your Home Depot. No more Orchard Supply. And everybody knows Orchard Supply was a San Jose store, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knew that. They started here in San Jose. So it's kind of an interesting situation, yeah. So be very mindful of that. We get a lot of questions about vehicles, how to protect vehicles, things of that kind. So they mentioned it earlier. If you have a vehicle, and you're in the driver's seat, and you say, I'm going to throw something on the passenger seat, and then you go to the store, and you leave it on the passenger seat, what kind of message does that send to somebody who's looking for stuff? It's a gift, and you probably don't care. So because you probably don't care, well, they don't care if they break your window. Question?
Yeah, I'm actually very much here in San Jose, but we all drive most of the time by ourselves. You know, a woman may throw her purse on the passenger seat, or I've sometimes thrown my wallet on the passenger seat. They say what's been happening is you come to a red light at some intersection, and people approach the car, they'll break the side passenger window, grab the purse or grab the wallet, you're stuck at a red light.
Yeah.
Is that anything we've been seeing in San Jose?
So I haven't heard of that. Now, if that's something that is happening, what I can do is I can talk to our crime analysis people or even to our patrol people. But we haven't been seeing that. What we have been seeing a lot though is armed carjackings. Does everybody know what that means? Yes, no? Armed carjackings? If you don't know what that means that you are in a vehicle. So I'll use this as a one-seater vehicle. There won't be a passenger. So you're in the vehicle, And either A, you're coming out of your house, out of the driveway, or you're coming out of the driveway to a store. So what they do is they'll have two, it's usually they work in groups of 3 or 4, and they're usually young males, for one reason or another. They'll block the vehicle in, they'll come around, they'll use a weapon, they'll stick the weapon to your head and they'll say, give me the vehicle. This is something that we have been seeing a lot. So even when you come out of a driveway at a shopping center, what they'll do is they'll block you in. So yeah, so they'll block you in with the vehicle, they'll get out of the car, and they'll demand that you give them the vehicle. So that is something that we know that we're seeing a lot of. So what you can do in those situations, if you're fearful of someone breaking into your window, whatever it might be, how many of you remember driver's ed and the spacing that you're supposed to leave?
10 miles.
So one of the big things that we always remind everybody, it's basic driver's ed. If you can't see the bottoms of the tires of the vehicle in front of you, you're too close. Yeah, I see a lot of fingers pointing. Yeah, if you're in the driver's seat of your car and you can't see the tires of the other vehicle in front of you, you're too close. The reason for that, if someone approaches your window and you say, you know what, this guy's gonna do something to me, if you're too close, you can't maneuver out. But if you have enough space, and if you're not driving a 1975 Cadillac that has a super long front end, you should be able to turn out and then go away. Now always be mindful, of course, if there's a vehicle coming, you don't want to crash into the other vehicle or things like that. So that's the reason why you want to leave the spacing, so when you start noticing that someone's approaching your vehicle, you can take off before they get there. I don't know if that makes sense to everyone. So, because our job is prevention, so before that even happens, you're already knowing what's going on. So I hate to point young males in a bad sight or a bad image because I'm kind of on the younger side, so I kind of fall into that category, but that's just what we're seeing more of.
In what area would you say, or areas is this more common?
So we're seeing it everywhere. Everywhere.
In the Silicon Valley, there, or
So I only work in the city of San Jose, so our stats are for the city of San Jose, but we're seeing it all over San Jose. Yeah, I can't say. Residential stores, we see it a lot off of the main streets, so like on Tully and Story and things like that, we're seeing it a lot. Seeing it a lot at the malls and things of that kind. Yeah.
I noticed my neighbor parks facing the street, in the driveway.
Yep.
In the driveway. So he doesn't go into reverse.
That's a good thing you
Is
can
that
do.
a good idea?
Yeah, so did everybody hear that? So a lot of people, what they do is when they come into their home, they drive straight into the driveway. They open the door and then they walk out. But this individual is saying that his neighbor actually drives, reverses into his parking spot. So that's one of the things that we also recommend to people if you're worried about that, to actually reverse into your parking spot. So if you all were here early enough, you probably saw the lieutenant park in the back of the parking lot with the big Tahoe, and he was parked in reverse. That's the reason why we do that at the police department. Because when you park, you want to make sure you know who's in front of you. The last thing you want to do is park this and then have someone come from behind you, and you don't have, the thing we call it is called situational awareness. If you're not situationally aware of the things that are going on around you, you are now a potential victim. So that covers a little bit of locks. So just be mindful of those type of things. When you're driving, always lock your doors, have your windows up. Especially right now, I know it's a little colder. So some people, they don't like the cold, so keep your windows up. Question?
What about the sliding doors, sliding doors?
So sliding doors, one of the big things that we see with sliding doors is a lot of them you can actually slide them out of the rails. So what we always recommend everybody is put a screw. Now, we know that's difficult for a lot of people who own apartments or condos or whatever it might be where you can't make modifications. But if you own your home, what you can do is on the track at the top, you can place a screw so the window can't be moved up and down. You can also do it at the bottom, and if it's on the outside, then you can do the same thing for the outside window.
the sliding?
Yeah, the sliding doors, if you have one of those.
In our community, we've heard more cases in our house of no being sliding doors, we just break the glass.
crowbar.
No problem with moving the door, anything at all, but just the glass is going to be shattered.
And it's a dual glass? Does it have a mesh on the inside? A mesh on the for the glass? Yeah, that's a rough thing, yeah, because a lot of the glass you can break it with a screwdriver if you hit it really hard. So that's why alarms are some things that a lot of people like to couple. So if you have an alarm that makes a noise, sometimes that scares them off, sometimes it doesn't, like the lieutenant said. Yeah, and that is, and that's one of the things that the lieutenant didn't have a lot of time to speak of, but one of the biggest things that we see is individuals have footage, but they don't know how to get the footage. A lot of people have cameras, but they can't get the footage. This nice camera right here that's filming me, I'm assuming, if he doesn't know how to retrieve the images off of that camera, what's the point of him videotaping me, correct? So it's the same concept. So if you have an alarm system at your home, know how to download it, know that a lot of systems actually go to the cloud, know how to retrieve it from the cloud. If you still have a DVR, know how to actually get it from the DVR, how it records on the DVR, how long it takes before it actually starts videotaping over itself. So if a lot of you remember the old VHSs, it's the same concept. What it does is it starts taping over itself. So just be very mindful of those type of things. So one of the last things that we're going to talk about today, because it's something that happens a lot in this holiday season, is package theft. It's a very big thing that happens. One of the biggest things you all can do you all know that you all can look at your mail if you still get mail from the post office before you get it? Does everybody know that? From the United States Postal Service, there's a service that they offer where you can look at your mail before it's delivered. If you don't know, it's called Informed Delivery. And you can sign up through the internet, through the United States Postal Service.com website. Basically what you do is you sign up on the website, you give an email address or whatever it might be, then they'll send you pictures of the mail that's supposed to be delivered every day. If you have a package that's being delivered and it's being delivered through the United States Postal Service, you can actually get updates from them, and then you can actually give them specific instructions on where to leave the package.
Also for GPS.
Yeah, also GPS, yeah.
How are they spreading the word out? This would be interesting to bring out to different communities and stuff and let them know. But it would just be nice to know, besides you, who else is spreading this word? This is nice.
Yeah, so I can't answer that, I don't know. Because the United States Postal Service is a federal agency. That's another thing too. If your mail ever touches the United States Postal Service at any point in time, that is now a federal felony. Yeah, so let's say they steal this mail thing he has here. If this came through the United States Postal Service, someone stole this out of his mailbox, that is a felony because it's actually federal mail. It's not through a city, it's not through a municipality, it's actually through the federal government. Question?
And yet, they keep stealing the mail from mailboxes. Do they know that it's a federal offense, and yet they take that risk?
They
Why
probably
don't
do.
they get out of it?
So one of the things that happens a lot is identity theft. So what they'll do is a lot of people, they still get checks delivered to their home. So then they can get bank account numbers, they can get addresses, things of that kind. So before it gets too later, do you all know that I had on the front table we had the important phone numbers list? Did everybody get one of those? If you didn't get one of those, we as a police department, we offer a thing called the important phone numbers list for the city of San Jose. One part of it is for our phone numbers at the police department. The next numbers are all the different numbers for the city. Now, somebody earlier mentioned about RVs and homeless individuals maybe residing in neighborhoods. That's where you can call. So they have the homeless abatement on that. We have it on there. We also have abandoned vehicles, all those type of things. When you get that important phone numbers list, if you flip it over, it actually has a suspect description on how to describe an individual when you call dispatch, and it also has how to describe a vehicle when you call dispatch. I'm going to tell everyone right here, right now, when you call dispatch, they're probably going to ask you 1,000 questions. They ask everyone 1,000 questions. So don't feel that they're making you a criminal, don't feel that they're pressuring you or whatever it might be. They're asking you those questions because when an officer actually shows up, because as soon as they're on the phone with you, they're already trying to dispatch somebody there. So when an officer shows up, they don't know if that individual has a gun. They don't know if that individual is under the influence of drugs. They don't know if that situation from being a simple call is now going to turn into an altercation, a physical altercation. So that's why they ask you so many questions. One of the biggest things you can do when you describe somebody Look for tattoos, especially with all these young kids nowadays. They love getting face tattoos. They love getting tattoos on their hands. That's one of the funniest things about young people nowadays. They love getting hand tattoos or tattoos on their forearms, things of that kind. Makes our job a lot easier because then we know who they are. Another thing too is if they have piercings. Unless they're gonna rip the piercing out or they're gonna take it out, if it's in their nose or their lips or whatever it might be, it's pretty easy to describe them. Colored hair, if they have hair that isn't a normal color, they have pink, purple, bright green, any kind of hair color like that, that helps us out because most people don't really have hair like that. The reason we say that is because clothes. A lot of people say, well, isn't clothes one of the most important things? The thing about that is it's a difficult situation. So like you, ma'am, you're wearing a pink jacket with a pink sweater. I don't know if underneath that she has a tank top, if underneath she has shorts under her pants. And as soon as she commits her crime, she takes the top layer off and then it's a whole different person. But if they would have said, you know what, she's wearing a pink sweater, but she also has a tattoo on her neck that says Monica or whatever, then if you see somebody walking down the street and it says whatever it might be, it's a little easier to describe the person. Any questions?
What are the different numbers for all of the situations, and they not 911 for everything?
Yeah, so the important phone number list has a lot of those phone numbers. The My San Jose app, they talked about it earlier, that's actually free. So if you have an Android or an Apple product, you can download the app. And in the app, it actually has a lot of phone numbers as well. And if for some reason or other you don't get one of those, if you meet me after the meeting, I can hopefully send you one through email. That way you can get it if you didn't get one.
You said that's it, San Jose, that one?
My San Jose? The app? Yeah, My San Jose.
My San-
Just My San Jose. Yeah, one word.
I like to share on the delivery thing. FedEx and UPS also free schedule specific instructions for delivery. So if you know you have a package coming, I just discovered this a few months ago. I didn't know. But I thought it was very handy.
Yep.
I don't work anymore, but people who are working and you want to set up special instructions for a package that you know is coming that day, you can do that on the same day.
Yep.
Pick it up.
So I just wanted to share that in addition to what the post office offers,
Yes.
right?
So I
It's a
appreciate
similar
that.
kind of thing. UPS and FedEx both offer that service.
That's good. And another thing too, I didn't mention it earlier, but you just reminded me of that. You can also get your package delivered to a locker box. I don't know if everybody knows that. There's certain companies that do it. They have them at grocery stores or whatever it might be. And you can have your package delivered to the box. They send you a pin on your phone, and then you put the pin on the screen. The door opens, you get your package. So those are. Oh, really? Perfect.
So just new things that I didn't know existed, so just put on place if needed.
And that's a great thing, and that's the reason why you all should have neighborhood watches in your neighborhood, because you all have different information, you all have different backgrounds than everyone else. Any other questions or anything else that any of you might have?
Sometimes my husband, when he's driving, and especially in Yerba Buena, that has had so many fatal accidents, he always, when people goes too fast there, he
Blinks, the lights.
and I'm afraid because you don't know if that person has a gun or something and he might start shooting us. Is that a good idea?
So,
What I do is, we have
you're
had,
the husband?
yeah, I plead guilty. When we go down the hill, people speed up, and there have been fatalities there. So even though it says 40 miles an hour, people are going faster than that. So what I do is, especially when I see where it says 40 miles an hour, I blink my lights on and off, the high beams, and it reflects it to the 40 miles thing, to make them aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes if they're really going fast, I honk to them.
Yeah.
So it's just because today I saw a lady running,
Yeah, on the street. Yeah.
on the street, and that's what happened to one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. So in that situation,
I'm
I would always caution you to be careful of yourself. If you see them going faster than what they should, always leave enough spacing That way, if they, for some reason or other, they do lose control, whatever it might be, you have enough time to react, and then you have enough time to call. Sadly, that's something that we see a lot. We see a lot of speeding. We also see a lot of individuals getting ran over in the city of San Jose.
When are they going to start giving tickets?
So that is a good question. So our traffic unit right now, if I remember correctly, has 5 individuals, including the person who's in charge of it.
They can make a lot of money over here.
So there's only 5 traffic people for the whole city of San Jose. So it's a very difficult thing because they're trying to do the best they can, but there's also only so many people. And then Lieutenant Pareda mentioned it earlier, but you have patrol officers, and then you have patrol officers that are retiring now. So then the recruits have to pick up for the people that are retiring, and then that kind of puts a burden. But the numbers are growing. I think we're almost at 1,100 people now. So hopefully that continues to rise.
So why doesn't the police department use the community, what do you call them, the one that are in the white cars?
So that's because that it has to do with training, and it also has to do with the authority of a peace officer. So like I cannot arrest anyone. I can't give you a ticket because I'm not a sworn officer. I didn't go through the specific training, and the CSOs are just like me, but their training, instead of having communications with people, their training is how to collect fingerprints, DNA, video, footage. That's their specific training. Now, if they were to give people tickets or arrest individuals, then they would have to go through a police academy to be able to give those citations or arrest them. Because it's a thing with the law and how that kind of works. Question?
Are they usually from outside of the city, different states, or they come from different areas, or local?
So from the last time I heard from the stats that they had collected, they were local. Yeah, they were local. Yeah. Any other questions? Alrighty, well, I want to say thank you to everybody for paying attention. If you have